Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker. And Sheriff Ruth Ann Dickerson is a lifelong resident of Cape Girardeau County, married and raised 2 children, and proud grandmother to 2 grandchildren. Her involvement in the community includes her church organizations, Chamber of Commerce, SALT, which stands for Seniors and Lawmen Together, the Network Against Sexual Violence board member, and law enforcement agents, organizations, Knights of Columbus, Ladies Auxiliary, NRA, Cape County Friends of the NRA. In the past, has served on the Domestic Violence Authority Board, VIP Industries Board, and Cape Girardeau County Developmental Disabilities Board, and multiple other organizations. She has worked for the Cape Girardeau County Sheriff's Office for 34 years, working her way through to the ranks in the second in command before being elected sheriff in November of 2018 and again in 2020. She currently serves on the Cape Girardeau Bollinger County Major Case Squad Board, Drug Task Force Board, Network Against Sexual Violence Board, Senior and Law Enforcement Together Board, and many other committees. Currently serving as Cape Girardeau County's first female sheriff, it is my pleasure to introduce and welcome back Sheriff Dickerson. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for having me this evening. I kind of look back to the last time that I was here talking, so I just tried to update a lot of the projects that we have going on in the county and what's happening with your tax dollars. Of course, around this time of year, it's budget time, and that's generally what I look like for the next few months and while we get through the budget. Since I first took over sheriff, the budget was increasing from about 7 million to 10 million, and today we're holding it right around 14, and that's kind of where our budget sits today. You can see it's kind of broken down into the sheriff side is our patrol, investigation, support staff. The jail includes all of the officers that work in the jail. It includes the housing, clothing, and everything of the inmates that are upstairs in the jail, feeding them 3 meals a day, keeping up with their laundry. The 911 dispatch center, I made a note that, as you all know, we combined centers with Jackson. The dispatchers dispatch for both Jackson City and Cape County. It's working out well. We get along well. It's always room for improvement, but we just had a quarterly meeting this morning and things are going good. We've switched our radio system over into the Missouri statewide interoperability system, and it's been fantastic. It used to be my officers would be on the street, they couldn't even talk to the Jackson officers. The Jackson and Cape officers couldn't talk to or Jackson officers and my officers couldn't talk to Cape officers. Now we're all talking together constantly. If we do have a major incident, we can alert the officers to change to a different channel, and that channel alone is dedicated to that incident, and yet leaves the other channels open for other business. So it's been a good move, and so far it's working out well. A lot of the discussion the last time I was here was, how many inmates do we have? When you pass by the building that we have currently, it doesn't look like it's that big. I know it's a little small, but it's in the last 2 years, our population has variegated, but it stays pretty well around that 240 to 250 to 265. Several years ago, we even had some months that we were up to 300 inmates. The current facility we have is built for 220 inmates. So we get pretty crowded, the inmates get restless, and so another big concern was I had 4 officers on a shift guarding those 260 plus inmates. It was crazy. One officer has to stay in the booth to run the control booth. You might have one officer down in booking that's booking new inmates coming in. That means there's 2 officers running around doing everything. They couldn't keep up. If we had an incident in the jail, then if we had a fight, if the inmates did something that we needed extra staff, that meant that administration had to go up there, investigators had to go up there, I had to pull people off the road for patrol. Why does that concern you? It's your safety. Those inmates are behind bars because that's where they need to be. The public safety is a major concern. So every time we had an incident in the jail, the more officers we took off the road, guess what? They're not out there patrolling and protecting you guys. The more times that we had incidents in the jail that couldn't come under control quickly, escape risk increased tenfold. So it's a little hard to see, I apologize, it looked a little better on mine at the office. One of the biggest initiatives we took when we asked for the law enforcement tax was the increase of staff. One area we increased used to be we had 24 officers patrolling the roads of Cape Girardeau County. What that meant is you were lucky if there were 2 or 3 officers on at a time. In the old days when I first started in law enforcement, one of the questions in the academy on a test was, if you rolled up to a building and you got a notification that there was a possible burglary in progress, what would you do? A, wait for backup. B, go in and secure the building. C, turn around and drive off. Which that was an easy question to skip that part, but everybody from our area got it wrong because we said we would go in and secure the building by ourselves. Today and age, that is not possible for officers. Anytime there's an officer going in anywhere, I want 2 officers going in. So we increased our patrol by 10, so we actually have 34 positions now on the road. You know, I see it doing nothing but increasing because our population's increasing, our calls are increasing. We currently have 3 openings that we have not filled yet. Our investigation staff has 4. We haven't added any there. The jail division, that comes a little bit different story. We originally had 16 positions for certified officers. We added 14, that gives me a total of 30. The jail correction officers, the difference between a certified officer and a corrections officer. A certified officer goes to the law enforcement academy, becomes post-certified. That gives them the authority to make arrests and carry a weapon. Correction, and that means they can go outside the jail. They can go out onto the street, they can go to the courtrooms and stuff. The corrections officers are normally reserved that they work inside the jail. Now that we have the tunnel, they can transport inmates back and forth to the courtrooms and stuff, but then they're handed over to a deputized officer. The other good thing about adding the certified officers to the jail and increasing that staff, a major thing that we've done is we all work in the same house. Used to be if you worked in the jail, you were stuck in the jail. If you worked the road, you were the road officer. Not anymore. If we need help on the road, the jail officers are cross-trained that they can step up and assist on anything on the road. The road officers have always been cross-trained because a lot of times we get the officers out of the jail that want to come to the road. So they're cross-trained that if anything happens in the jail, they can operate that jail. So that increases your staffing, maybe not by actual numbers, but if an incident occurs, then it increases your staffing. The jail support staff, that's something we didn't have before. So we've added 2 support staff. They work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 mostly, but it's fantastic. You've got paperwork that is just unreal in this job. And why tie up a certified officer or a corrections officer that needs to be boots on the ground, taking care of those inmates? Why tie them up doing the paperwork? The paperwork that has to go back and forth to the courts, the paperwork that has to go to the attorneys. We hired 2 administrative staff at a lower salary, so that way it's a budgetary decision, and they are fantastic. They stay on top of things. We haven't missed a court day, we haven't missed getting an inmate over to the courts, we make the judges happy, we make the attorneys happy, and we keep things flowing a lot smoother for our jail. Our 911 center, when we combined, we had 20 staff to handle the 911 communication center, and so far we haven't had to add any additional there, so we still stand at 20. Right now we're looking for 3 positions for that. We added a support person. They only work 4 days a week, so they're technically considered part-time, but that way it takes a lot of that paperwork again, taking care of time reports, taking care of the payroll, taking care of all of the miscellaneous paperwork, and that way it leaves the dispatchers free to do their dispatching job. We also added 2 warrants officers. Later on, I'll get into some statistics to tell you how many warrants we usually receive in a year's time that those people are responsible to enter into our computer system. If you have a warrant issued for your arrest, when they entered into the computer system, according to if it's a misdemeanor charge, it stays within the boundaries of Missouri. If it's a felony, it becomes what we call the national side of the system. Anywhere you're stopped anywhere in the United States, you could have that warrant follow you. So it's a lot of paperwork there again, because they put the warrants in. They have to enter a lot of information. If the warrant gets recalled or they get arrested, then those warrants have to come out of the system. So putting those two staff in, again, they work mostly Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and it takes away a lot of the side paperwork that the dispatchers were having to do, and they couldn't concentrate on those 911 calls, paging out the fire departments, paging out medical, getting the officers into the incidents that they needed to go to. Court security, we originally had 7. When they opened the new courthouse, we did add 3.5 positions. One reason is combining all 6 courtrooms into one courthouse. They told us, oh, we'll never use all 6 at one time. They lied, we do. There's a lot of days that all 6 courtrooms have a judge in it, and they're going full force. And then we added the security system at the front door, so we had to add some staff to assist with that. There is also behind that, when you walk in the courthouse, you walk through the tachometer where they check you for weapons, things like that. And there's also a big window there. Behind that back window is one of my staff running all of the door controls and watching all the cameras for the courthouse while they're in there. Because as the sheriff, it's my responsibility to provide the protection for the courts, the judges, and anybody entering the courthouse. Maintenance, we used to have 3, we had to add 1. We now have a total of 4. We did add a part-time position for a part-time cleaning person. We really haven't gotten off too far with that yet right now. Administrative support, we had 4. We've added 1, so we have a total of 5 positions. They work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We have 1 opening there. The IT program support. As with any business, we have a lot of technology, and it's constant programs. And as we grow, all of those programs are having to be integrated together. Excuse me. So as you know, sometimes that can get complicated. You get this company and you want that company excuse me, to talk to this company. Sometimes that doesn't always flow well. I was tying up administrative staff trying to help handle that. So we do have one gentleman that's in place, and he's our IT program support person. He's also our drone operator, and he's fantastic. He really takes that in hand and takes care of it. So. And of course, there's 1 sheriff, 1 chief deputy, and 1 business captain. So we used to have a staff of 93. We currently have positions for 131.5 people. And today, I am currently at 126 people, if I remember counting that right. So we're doing pretty good on our hiring, but as you can see by the open positions, we could use 3 patrol officers, a certified jail officer, a 911 communicator, and an administrative support staff. I know it's a little hard to see, but I think this is one thing I'm most proud of. As I told you, the severity of many years ago, not that many years ago really, about 4 or 5 years ago, we weren't running that jail. The inmates were running that jail. We did not have enough people to keep control. They couldn't get the work done. We were working our staff overtime, calling them in on their days off. We were burning people out. People were leaving faster than we could bring them in because we were burning them out, and I knew that. And we recognized that. My administrators recognized that. So on the left is an example of a shift at that time. The 4 bottom sections, that's how many people were working per shift, 4 people per shift. The administrators are there, they were flexing in and out, they were coming in on whatever time. If they got a call in the middle of the night, they dressed and come in, whatever was going on, that's what they had to take care of. On the right, this is a sample of a shift. So we now have 7 to 8 people on shift, and it has made a world of difference. Used to be you'd walk into the jail booth and it was total chaos. You would look out into the pods where the inmates were, and it was total chaos. They were constantly pushing the buzzer, wanting attention and wanting this and needing that, because people didn't have enough time to get everything taken care of for them, and we were running them back and forth to court. Now, There is a routine in place. I could almost walk in the door and tell you that this is what's happening right now, because this is what the staff is getting taken care of. So it has been much relief, a much needed relief for everybody that works in the jail. Some other growths that we've had in the jail, we've added a CERT team. CERT team is basically a team that if an inmate would try to start a riot, they would lock themselves, try to get into the cell and hold somebody hostage or something, instead of just running in there and just blindly trying to take care of it. This CERT team gets in place, they have a formation they follow, and it's just like kind of what you see the officers training for the school shootings. They have the plan, they make their formation, and they go in. And we've used them a few times. It's been several months that we've had to use them. We've used them a few times, and I can tell you it has made a 100% difference up there in the jail when an inmate acts up. You gather that CERT team together and they show up at that door of that pod, it's usually over with, because they know they're not gonna win. So 24/7 nursing. Used to be we had one nurse on Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. It caused issues for us, it caused issues for the inmates. One thing is they couldn't get to people fast enough when they filed a sick call that they needed something. If we had an emergency, if we didn't have them there at night to help us make that diagnosis, we were relying on making a phone call to a doctor. And then we have to have a clearance. When someone comes into jail for the first time and they walk through that door, they have to be medically cleared to make sure that they're okay. Today, with all of the different drugs that everybody comes in, that they have, in their system, even, medications and everything, sometimes it might be somebody as simple as somebody might be on high blood pressure medicine, but it might take us a week to catch up with that. If any of you are on blood pressure medicine, a week without it could be devastating. And so we now have that nurse there. She or he is the one that goes and makes that determination if that inmate is medically cleared to come into the jail. They stay on top of things. We haven't had the ambulance or the rescue truck from Jackson in front of our office near as much as we used to, because they're staying on top of the medications and everything. The full kitchen contract staffing. What we've done in the last couple of years is, used to be we had inmates helping in the kitchen. 20, 30 years ago, that was a good thing, because you had misdemeanors, you had somebody in there for the first time committing a crime. They appreciated that. They would go in the kitchen, they would work today, and they would get an extra day off their sentence. We don't have misdemeanors in our jail anymore. I probably have less than 10% of the inmates that have a misdemeanor. Everybody else is a felony. And the amazing thing about the inmates is they have a lot of time. So they have a lot of time to sit there and decide how can they try to get something pulled over on all of us. Working through the kitchen, and it wasn't the kitchen staff, the contracted staff, it wasn't really their fault. There were things getting brought in and somehow managed to come in. How? I don't know. I don't have enough time to sit around and figure it all out either. But instances of things being brought in, we had problems with the kitchen workers that were inmates filling extra trays with certain products, or trying to put double portions in it to try to get it over to their buddy in this block or that block, because they make the trays and they know that tray, that cart with those trays is going to this block, and they would kind of tag the tray so they would know that it was supposed to be handed to a certain inmate so that they got extra things. That caused problems. So there's just a lot of stories I can tell you about that. So going to the full kitchen contract staffing has really saved a lot of problems up in the jail. It saved us not having to shake down the cells as much, looking for things out of the kitchen that really shouldn't be there. We have a new program that we're getting ready to implement. It's called Guardian One. There's tags all along in the jail, and the officer can walk up to that with a little device, looks like a large cell phone. He reads that tag and it tells the system that he's going into pod A. Once they walk into pod A, there's other actions that are going to be done, and he starts logging that right there on that device. What we were relying on is that officer had to carry paper along with him. He had to have the roster with the inmates. Now, the inmates all have an identification bracelet on, but we had no way of reading it to verify it. We can now verify that if we're calling up inmate Jones to take their medication, they scan it, it's inmate Jones, he's getting his medication, it's tagged right there. It's gonna be a lot of time saving to not have to take paper forms, transpose it into the computer system, so it's gonna save us a lot of time. The Navigator. The Navigator is our in-house community counseling center counselor. We were lucky enough to get a grant. Last time I was here, I looked it up, and I told you that we estimated that we were probably at 35% of our population had some kind of mental health illness or mental health issue. I was wrong, or else it's getting worse, because since we've had the Navigator in there, she's been there a little over a year. She's a little nervous about giving her stats out because she wants to get her footing in good, but she gave me the stats that probably we're looking at closer to 45%. Some of them we know right away, they tell us, but you would be surprised, and the ones that don't say anything, they don't want to know people to know, they don't admit it, but once they get to us, what she does is she sits down with them, and first of all, have you ever had a diagnosis? Well, yes, I have, schizophrenia. Okay, what medications do you take? I don't take any medications. I haven't been taking my medication for 6 months. Well, guess what? That's probably why they're here now, because they have not been taking them. She can get in the system like that. She finds out where they came from, who they had, who their doctor was, what their medication should be, and gets them right back on it. It might have taken us in the past, it might have taken us 3+ months to get them back on their medication. Well, guess what happened in that 3 to 6 months? They're fighting, they're getting in trouble, they're not getting along with the other inmates. Now, the sooner we can get them back on that medication, the sooner they're calmed down, they're ready to just get done whatever they have to do and get back to their life outside. The other biggest issue we're trying to work with her with, that she is fantastic on, is to help keep the recidivism down. Since we're only been into it a little bit over a year, they won't really give us some statistics yet because they want to give it at least a 2-year period, but already we're seeing what a difference it's making. If she finds out that somebody had the diagnosis and they're not taking their medication, if somebody comes in and has never been diagnosed and then we get them diagnosed, she gets them their medication, then once they walk out the door, that's not it. If we just let them walk out the door and say, "Nope, good luck," guess what? They're not going to stay on their medication. They need that support system. She works every day getting that support system put in place. Whether it's having a counselor from the community counseling center follow up with them, make sure they're on their medications. She's worked with so many outreach groups across Cape County that she has gotten some of them housing. She's gotten some of them into other programs. So we're hoping that all adds up to they're not coming back. So, court order transport grant. As the sheriff, it is my responsibility anytime a judge signs a court order, I have to take care of it. Whether it's a warrant, a summons, a subpoena, an ex parte order, or a peace bond, whichever way you're familiar with hearing about that, or a court order transport. Normally what happens if someone is suffering from a mental health episode and they end up at the hospital and they need further help, the hospital psychiatrist can ask for a 96-hour commitment. And then from that 96-hour commitment, it gets a court order saying that they are court ordered to go to this facility or that facility for treatment. And then comes my responsibility to get them from the hospital over to there. My officers were spending a lot of time on the road. It was costing us a lot of money in overtime to call officers in. We got a grant to help us pay for those officers taking those transports. So it's helped us get people out there quicker to take those transports when they know they were getting paid for it. Sometimes it was like, come in and I'll give you 2 hours off tomorrow if it takes you 2 hours. And it just wasn't a feasible plan. So the MOSWIN radios in the jail. I explained to you how important the MOSWIN radio was to the patrol officers and all of us out on the streets. We were one of the first facilities in Missouri to put those radios in the jail. We had to have what they call a repeater system in the jail, but before we always had problems if the officers were in the booth and they walked over to the courthouse to take an inmate over to the cells over there to be held for court. We couldn't talk back and forth on the radios. We tried, I forget how many different radio systems, and it would not work. We got the most wind system in there, put the repeater system in, they're talking all over the place. The officers, if they were from the booth over into the old part of the jail, sometimes our communications wouldn't work, and they'd get down there and they'd need help and couldn't even get help because they were down there without communications. So now we have that in place. So tablets for the inmates. A lot of people look at you funny when you tell them that you've provided the inmates with a tablet. Through the contract we did, our contract, we wanted every inmate to have the ability to have a tablet. We didn't want a tablet just to be for an inmate that maybe has somebody giving them money, that we wanted each one to have a tablet. Instead of 30, 40 people in a pod having to agree on one TV channel, which we're very limited on our TV channels up there too for the inmates, they can now have a tablet and they can order movies that they can watch on their own. So if they don't like what's on TV, they can watch a movie. They can pull up books, magazines, certain magazines. So this also, by not giving them paper books and magazines, they're not tearing them apart and flushing them in the toilets, overrunning the toilets, which causes other issues. So another big thing that we're implementing and we're rolling out and we're really excited on is some of the other programs we can provide to them on the tablets. GEDs, you know, we have some Bible study programs. They can, I don't care what religion they want or what, you know, before we were always kind of limited on how much stuff we could allow them to have. Now it's endless. We can put the programs, they're approved programs. They have to go through, if a program wants to come in and be added to the tablets, it has to go through a vetting process through our company, and they're very, you know, security conscious and everything. But the tablets have been a very useful thing. And the big thing that, you know, we always struggled to provide training. Training, training, training. We have in-house training, and then we have outside training. And it was really a balancing act to saying, well, this year we only, you know, we can only allow you and you to go to training. When really I need for you and you to go to training, but I can only allow 2. Well, the better trained your officers are, the better they're gonna do their job. So training has been a big thing. Training recruitment program, what we do now is if someone wants to see if they think they want to be an officer, they can come work in the jail as a corrections officer. If they work for you at least for a year and then they apply, then they can be accepted to go to the Law Enforcement Academy. They have to go through the testing, get accepted in the Law Enforcement Academy. But then once they're accepted to go to the Law Enforcement Academy, I will pay for them to go to the academy. And it's been a fantastic tool. We've got some really good, you know, young people that they're not really sure what they want to do. They're not sure exactly what direction they want to do. They get in there, they kind of get their feet on the ground, understand what, you know, the inside business is, and then they're ready to go to the training. And then our patrol investigations officers, they're busy. We'll get some stats here in just a little bit to see what our calls are like. The SRT team, special response team. We've never had a special response team in the county. And as all of you can attest by what you see on the news and what you see happening everywhere, is that special response team is much needed. And we've utilized them many times, and it's a good thing we had them, because if not, I have no doubt somebody would have went home really hurt, or they wouldn't have went home at all. The boat rescue team, we still have the boat rescue team. They still are in training. Put a drug task force officer in. For a while, we didn't have anybody really actively working drugs and working undercover in the county. So I now have a drug task force officer. He's attached to the SEMO drug task force, but he's dedicated to Cape County. But you probably won't be shocked to realize that when they're dealing drugs, they don't stay just in Cape County. They're everywhere. They're traveling back and forth. So having that connection with the SEMO Drug Task Force, there's other officers in other counties that are doing the same thing, and they're constantly sharing information. And the best thing is when he has something really bad that he knows is going to go down, he can call any of his fellow Drug Task Force officers. They're going to be right here helping him, same way he will go down and help them. So it's been a positive point for us. Warrants Task Force officers, I have 2 officers that are they work a It's called the felony warrants task force. They're constantly looking for the worst of the worst. They've done great. They've done a great job. They've cleaned up a lot of warrants in Cape Girardeau County. It's even taken them to other counties that they've been chasing people down, getting them in custody. Evidence technician, kind of threw that in there. It's just a housekeeping thing. Our evidence areas are full. They're overflowing. Once you get too much in there, you kind of lose that evidence rule of thumb that everything has to be documented and everything. So he's in there cleaning house, getting things cleaned up, and so he's helping the officers. It helps take a little pressure off the patrol officers that when they have something for evidence, they can come in, they can put it in the evidence locker, and they know he's gonna bag it, tag it, and take care of it, and do everything that it needs to have done with it, so they don't have to take time off the road to take care of it. So the drone program, we've added several different drones. We have a drone that will fly outside. We also have some smaller drones that will fly inside the house. We've utilized them many times for when we're going in for warrants. Unfortunately, the other day we even had to use it on a suicide. We got the call that he may have committed suicide, but they didn't know. He was experiencing some really bad times, and we knew he had a weapon. So instead of the officers rushing him, maybe causing further harm to him, and then also putting our officers in danger, flew the small drone in there, and we did find him. Unfortunately, we were too late to get to him. So, but the drone has been a very positive program also. The crime stats, there again, I'm sorry, it's a little hard to see. Our violent crimes in 2021, if you can't see it, at the very top, the little green box, it shows a down arrow. In the box from 2022, it shows a down arrow. So hopefully what we're putting in place, the officers we're putting on the street, that's helping us for that. This is property crimes. There again, in the little green boxes, you'll notice that they go down. So they're going down. So hopefully that means that we're getting things solved. This is our drug crimes. You'll notice it's a red box and it shows an up arrow. Am I upset about that? No, I'm not. Because that's the drug crime cases that we are now working and solving. So we are improving on our drug crimes. What do the officers do? What's their calls? What are the dispatchers? What are they handling? As you can see, from 2021, we're 18,000 calls in the county to 22,000, total 28,000 estimated for 2023. Jackson, you know, we kind of break them up so we can kind of keep track of which one really belongs to each agency. They're increasing 15 to 14. They were lucky last year, but then we're estimating they're going to be 18. The fire calls, that includes either a fire or for medical. The county has risen from 16 to 22 possibly this year. 911 calls, as you can see, they increase across the board. We're estimating we're going to reach 15,000. A new thing that's come on in the 911 is the text to 911. We do offer a feature that in the event that you can't talk or you're in a situation, we have had one where the lady was hiding in the closet involved in a domestic, and she was texting the dispatch where she was, what was going on, where her husband was, that he did have weapons and everything. So we were able to send officers out there and be properly prepared for what we were gonna address. So we do get more of those. Some of them are accidental, some of them are texts that really, it's like, really just call 243-3551, please. You know, so assist is when we are called to assist another agency because something's going on. As you can see, it is the times. We're out there, we're helping each other. We're going to Cape City, Cape City's helping us, we're going to Jackson, Jackson's helping us, so we're all out there together. Highway Patrol, we're all working it together. The warrants entered, as you can see, we had 2021 was kind of a pickup because of the fact that it was right after the pandemic, the courts were opening back up, so those figures are a little screwed because they, of course, increased because they were trying to catch up. Normally we run around the 16 to 17 a year, where this year we're estimating we'll be entering about 1,900 warrants. And that's just the warrants that we enter, that we're gonna have to go look for somebody. That doesn't include the warrants that we serve right away because we know right where they are and we don't even have to enter them in the system. So And I'll repeat it again, no matter what division they're in, the training, and then train again. Every division is involved. We cross-train across divisions so everybody is better trained and we can help each other out. So you never know what kind of training that we're gonna have to face. We have a boat team training, we have hands-on training, so we're always training. And one of our favorite is when we get our young people that wanna come in and know what we do, we like to have that too, so. And then a lot of times we get called at requesting if we can do special events or impromptu public intervention. Everybody helps, no 2 days are the same. We love doing the special events. There again, a lot of times it was kind of just the patrol officers doing the special events. No, I opened it up. It can be any of the jail officers, my support staff have went out and helped. We all work there, we're all representing the sheriff's office. So we go out to a lot of special events. We'd love to do more, but unfortunately sometimes our time doesn't allow us to do as many as we'd like to, so. And then, as a result of the explosion in the jail population, we are now adding on to the jail. So this is a little quick overview about what's going on at our house. That's our nice parking lot that we used to have, but unfortunately we had to give up for the expansion. What will happen is there is an original part of the jail that was built in 1979. It's still good, it's still useful for administrative space and storage space, but the cells have just really deteriorated to the point, because any architect will tell you that in a jail setting, you know, year for year on your house usage, ours is tenfold. So a 10-year-old jail is really equal to almost a 100-year-old jail right away. So the 1979 part, we've already got, the Highway Patrol has some offices over there. We're using some of it for administrative space. The downstairs, we'll start converting some of it into evidence storage and other storage. Then the 2000 part that we're operating out of today, we will still be using it, and then we'll be adding on the new section, and totally between the new section and the 2000 portion of it, we will house upwards to 500 inmates. And you might say, are we overreacting? Probably not. There's a lot of things going on. The municipalities across the state of Missouri, and even other states may be doing it too, that the municipalities are kind of going away from municipal court, that they're not putting people in their municipal jails, because a lot of times your municipal crimes are the same as a state crime, only it was held on a municipal level versus a state level. Once they commit that crime, they're going to be charged with a state crime, then they become the county's responsibility, so they come to the county jail. Same way with Department of Corrections. Used to be that if someone was on parole and they violated that parole, they send us a parole warrant. We'd go find them, we'd load them in the car, and we'd take them to DOC. No more. DOC doesn't want them back, they're overcrowded. So we are now mandated that we go out, we arrest them on the parole warrant, they stay in the county jail until either they are released, they withdraw the warrant, or they have a parole hearing and they decide whether they're gonna go back to DOC. The inmate doesn't even go up there sometimes, and now with video courts and stuff, we can do it, remotely if they have to and everything. So also on the Department of Corrections side, used to be, if you were sentenced to 5 years in the Department of Corrections, you pretty well spent 5 years. Now you get 5 years. If you're up there a year, you're up there 90 days sometimes. It's surprising. It's according to what level of crime you've committed and stuff. So guess where they end up coming back to? They come back to the local level, they get new charges, they're back in there. They're not taking them as fast, they're not going through court as fast, so we might have them, where we used to have them in custody maybe 6 months, now we've got them 18 months probably. So we're kind of being squished in the middle, but that's, I think, where our future is, and then I don't see it changing anytime soon. So that's kind of where we are on the jail. So at this point in time, if I haven't covered anything that anybody's happy with, at least sometimes that makes everybody happy. We do have a canine unit. We're proud of our canine unit. He has done an awesome job. His handler has done an awesome job. The demand for him to go out and work on the streets. And of course, sometimes it's the public appearances that, you know, he gets a lot of requests for. But he has done so well, and our stats are proven to us that we are in the process of trying to add a second canine. So we're pretty excited about that, to give this poor canine some relief, but he's done an excellent job and his handler's done an excellent job. So that's kind of a quick overview of what changes have been taking place at the Sheriff's Office. So I will be open for any questions.
Let's get a microphone if you don't mind, so everyone in the back can hear.
I just wanted to ask, is the canine dog usually for sniffing drugs? Is that what they use?
He is a dual-purpose dog, and the next one we get is also going to be a dual-purpose dog. He does excellent taking care of sniffing for drugs, and of course with the new marijuana laws, he's not trained on marijuana, because then there was a whole big transition in a lot of departments that the dogs that they had that were trained on marijuana, they had to get rid of them. This one was not, so we got to keep him. No big deal. He's also trained to track. Not so much track for hours and hours and hours, but we went into a situation where we were looking for a guy. We knew he'd run into this area. It was a pretty dense area. We knew he was there. Well, Zeno went in there and sure enough found him hiding down under an old root cellar. So he is a dual-purpose animal, and our next one we hope to have is a dual-purpose animal also.
Also, in that regard, do you use robots at all?
We don't have a robot yet. They're pretty expensive yet. But we do have the drones, and like I said, we have the big drone, which, you know, it can fly outside over, and it's got the thermal imaging, so we can find, you know, the hot spots and stuff. But we went ahead, and one of the next steps I wanted our drone operator to do was learn how to drive one of the little, I call it bumblebees, that you can turn loose in a house, and it's amazing to watch. He can go in and work around the rooms. When we did our school shooter training out in El Holcomb this year, the drone was there. It went in and operated with our team just the same as every other member. So, yes, sir.
I have two questions. The first one, your boat rescue, are you joining with the Cape PD with the boat they have that they use on the Mississippi River, or is yours separate from that?
I think I had a photo, and one of the training photos, oh yes. See the one right there where there's two boats in the water? One's us and one's Cape. You gotta work together. You know, we only have the one. Originally, we got it because of the flooding down around Glen Allen and those areas. And then all of a sudden, we were rescuing people from cars and different things like that. So the officers are all certified and trained for rescue. They're trained on swift water rescue. And the best thing we did was go over to Cape City, because they've had theirs for years and years before we ever got one. And we went over to Cape City and trained quite a bit with them, and we still do.
My second question, I don't want to be profiling, but with your expansion to 500, are you taking into consideration the influx of illegal immigrants into our country? And will you be able to handle a sudden increase in crime?
When you're talking about illegal immigrants, they fall under the jurisdiction of ICE. Right now, no, I do not work with ICE. They have other facilities they use. Most of the time, those facilities are in larger metropolitan areas because they have a lot of stringent rules and regulations that would cost a lot of money for us to do. So it's not to say we may not, you know, we have had instances where they've come in and they've been looking for 2 or 3, and we held them in our jail for just like overnight or something until they could get there and get it. But to actually house them for a long period of time, right now, that's not something I'm looking at, because according to our stats, we're going to keep that place busy. But if they commit a crime and we have to arrest them and bring them to the jail, we will do so, but then we will be coordinating with ICE to come on down and get them.
Hi, Sheriff David Gunch, Cape Girardeau County. I have a question for you. I've been here maybe 2.5, 3 years. It's been quite educational for me to understand the Constitution, power of we the people. We get frowned on quite a bit within the city of Cape Girardeau and even Jackson with their school board because of our accountability to our elected officials. My question to you tonight is, ma'am, when we've exhausted all resources and paths to our, I hate to use the word righteous, but legal belief, do we come to you to enforce the law?
That's a pretty broad question.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Because,
So may I follow up with that?
Okay.
Now that I've laid the base, may I meet with you at your office and air my grievances with facts and information? Is that possible?
yes, sir, anytime.
Yes, ma'am.
Several members from here have come and visited with me.
Yes, ma'am.
So yes, anytime.
I sure will, thank you.
All right.
And so the way to contact you best would be 335-351.
243-3551 and push 0 for operator, and that way it'll get you to the dispatch area, and they'll either get you down to me, or if I'm not available, which unfortunately, sorry, a lot of times I'm not, they will take a message and I'll get back with you.
I appreciate it.
Awesome, thank you.
Since the movie has come out about sexual trafficking, have you noticed any increase in that here lately?
Has it been an increase in sexual trafficking? I
Well,
can't
or
say, but
attempted.
people awareness, yes, people are a little more aware. I think a lot of times you're just kind of complacent to things that you see, where a lot of times the more information is put out there by the movies, because that's what people like to do, is watch movies. So they'll go to the movies and they'll see different things, and they'll become more aware of different problems that they might encounter that would lead them to be that it's a possible trafficking.
If you had a relative that had an incident happen, say at a gas station recently, within the city of Cape Girardeau, probably should have contacted Cape Girardeau Police.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you. Okay?
I saw a commercial not too long ago, or heard a commercial like this on the radio, and it was a company talking about a weapon called Byrna, B-Y-R-N-A. Have you had any exposure to that or know anything about that? It's a gun that shoots tear gas and pepper spray as opposed to bullets.
Mhm.
And I wondered if that is just what your feeling might be about those.
From my take on it, you have to understand, a lot of times I have seen it, and where I saw it was at a conference. So my thought on it was, I was thinking of, is that something I would want my officers to have? Because yes, we do carry, the OC spray and everything, and my first thought is, no, I don't. Because reaching for what? In a heightened situation, you really consider, what you're arming your officers with that they might reach for, and it wouldn't be something. Now, out to the public, it would have to be your decision. If you use it in a wrong way and somebody makes a complaint, then I'll have to get involved. But whether it's you personally, if it's something you want to look at, then that would be up to you.
Hey, what's the line regarding drones and needing a warrant? Or how much can you do with a drone and not have a warrant?
Our drone operator is an actual pilot, and so he has to follow the FCC rules and regulations. And a warrant, yes, if we're going in and it's anything that reaches, like the other day with the suicide. Even my officers, we can go in without a warrant. At that time, we did have consent. The wife gave us consent to go in. She met us, gave us the key, and we had consent to go in. If we were in a situation where we were most of the time, if you're looking for a human being, it's gonna be a circumstance that whether it's the human going in or a drone going in, you're gonna have enough probable cause and enough behind you that you have the law behind you to go ahead and enter the residence. But yes, if there's, if we're looking for something in particular, and if it's anything that I personally wouldn't go in and look for without a warrant, the drone's not going in without a warrant, so.
I have a question in regard to, it's our Second Amendment, and I see that our unelected ATF are trying to make more rules against guns that we possess. And I just want to know if constitutionally you will protect us and our rights, and can we call you should somebody come to our door?
Yes, ma'am, I will.
The inmates that you have at the jail, are they there in transition to go to one of the state penitentiaries, or are they there on a long-term basis?
Normally in a county jail, they are there only until they're convicted. Once they're convicted, they are either going to be going to the Department of Corrections, they're going to be released on probation, or they're going to be going into some other treatment program. So normally everybody at my jail has not been convicted of their crime yet.
Is there any training offered by the Sheriff's Department for the population as far as firearms training or anything like that?
No, we don't really do that. There's private firearms trainers out there. Biggest thing is the liability. My firearms trainers are trained to train officers, which would be maybe a little bit different than the normal public would be. And like I said, the liability of, if my officers are doing the training, then they're covered under the county's liability. And the county leaders probably would not be happy with that. So that's one reason we don't offer the training, so.
Yes, for 12 years, I was one of the members that did the jail ministry.
Yes, sir.
Do you foresee that coming back at any time? Any way we could get in limited, or they could be located in the ones that are interested, into a certain area or something where a couple of us could come in?
It will depend on, again, staffing, because it is a very staff-intensive progress. However, that was one thing when we went to design the new portion of the jail, is right now we have no common rooms. We have no, if you were in there, you're in the pod, and you're out in the middle of the pod, and yeah, there's locked cells around the pod, but guess what? Those are full, so we got people sleeping on temporary cots on the floor, and so there's no way to lock them down or keep control of them while we let the ministry in there. In the new part of the jail, there will be the pod, and in between each two pods will be a community room. The community room will help us address the possibilities of more programs as far as drug treatment programs, GEDs, ministry programs, and a lot of other future, programs we'd like to see come back, so. All right.
Another question? Anybody else have questions? Raise your hand and I'll get to you next.
I think you know who I am.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Be
You might
nice.
explain something to these folks, or tell them the difference in conceal and carry laws have changed. Have they modified them, or have they changed them any, or how it works?
Now you can carry concealed without a permit. There's certain places you can and can't carry, so you have to, get your information on that. The carry concealed weapon permit, about the only thing left that it's really applies toward is most of the people that come in and apply for the carry concealed weapon permit say they want it just because they can, and they want to prove to our leaders that there's people out there that want to do that. And the other thing is if you cross state line. Every state is different. We do have compact states. Compact states mean they recognize ours, but a lot of them you have to have a carry concealed weapon permit to go into their state or different laws. So it's a lot of different language in both sides of it.
Illinois is not a compact state, right?
No.
I just,
You must pass peacefully through, put your head down, don't show them anything, don't stop.
I have heard from federal agents that Blytheville, Arkansas is kind of a crossroads for the cartel drug trafficking. Does much of that come through Cape County?
There's drugs everywhere. And yes, the cartel is right here. I have no doubt about it. They may not look what you think the cartel looks like, but they're here. They're everywhere. Are they as big an operation right here in Cape County? Not maybe so much as Blytheville, but they're everywhere.
I just wondered when you think your new jail's gonna be ready to occupy.
They're supposed to have it completed December of 2024. So we're not gonna open it on January 1st, 2025 and arrest 500 people. The future plan is what we will do is we will start opening in some of the pods. Next year, our goal is to start adding more staff to the jail. It'll look like we're kind of running over each other, and it might look like it's too many, but we gotta have people trained to operate that jail before it opens. Then what we're gonna do is, there's several doors in our current facility that really need to be refurbished. When the 2020 jail, or the 2000 jail was built, they put in what they call slider doors in the pods, the worst thing ever. Because what the inmates do is they cram stuff in the tracks, or they even put their foot and then slam it open. Well, anybody that knows anything about gears and motors, then it strips that, and then the door doesn't work. So, and then the original design was good because it was designed so that one person could sit in that booth and just close all those doors at one time, and everybody was supposed to behave and go in their cells and not question it, and that doesn't happen. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move people out of our current facility into the new facility, so we give our officers time to practice and learn how to operate everything, and then they're gonna come in and refurbish some of those doors. So it'll probably be a year or so before too much more movement will be made, adding a whole bunch of people to the new side of the jail, so.
I'm not planning on going to jail, okay? But it sounds like you're crowded. So what do the prisoners do during the day? Do they have a weight room? Are they just stuck in a cell all the time?
They have cells, individual cells. There is an open area that's called the common area. They can go out and sit at the tables. That's where like I said, we have a routine. They're in their cell, then at a certain time in the morning, those cells open up and they can go out into the common room. They can watch TV, they can play games, they can get their tablets, they can work on their tablets. Then lunch is served, or well, breakfast is served first, but then lunch is served. After lunch, they go back in their cells, and they're locked down for so long. And then at a certain time in the afternoon, they come back out of their cells, and that way they can walk around, they can do whatever, they can visit with each other. And in between all of that, that's when we're getting people in and out of the pods, going to court and everything like that.
So there's no green place, like they could go outside or anything like that?
No, our only outdoor rec is technically been termed as unusable now because of where it sits. It's next to the courthouse, and having to stand out on the roof to watch them, that caused problems. In the new facility, the outdoor recreation has taken on kind of a new meaning because of the security issues and the staff intensiveness it takes to, if you move that person out of that cell, somebody's got to go with them. So what they will do in those common areas, it will be a common area they can use anytime, day or night, whenever something's going on. But then there will also be a door that opens up to let in the fresh air. They can go out there and run around or do whatever they need to do. So it'll be a very multi-purpose use. So.
It sounds like this new construction's going to put you in a ranking as pretty big in the state of Missouri. How will it compare with other county jails in the state?
There's some counties that don't even have a jail. There's some counties that have a 10-person jail all the way up. Where will we be? We'll still be a medium-sized jail. Some of the larger ones like Kansas City, Springfield, St. Louis, those areas, they're 2,000-3,000 up towards to 5,000 inmates. So we'll still be kind of a medium size.
That seems like a large number. Do you have any idea how many inmates there are in Missouri?
No, I don't know off the top of my head.
Any other questions for Sheriff Dickerson? Seeing none?
Okay. Well, thank you all very much for having me. I appreciate you.